So, what would you, this next question we get from a lot of our students, right? Especially this day and age when you see folks that, that are entrepreneurs, that some people haven't even had an undergrad college education, right? Some people
Yeah.
say, do I need to go $100,000 into debt to get an MBA? If I've got a good idea about what I want to do, is it necessary for an MBA? So I guess my question is, would you advise budding entrepreneurs to do an MBA?
Well, at the end, all the material to raise a company and start, a business, it's a formula, and you need to follow steps. And it's like climbing the Mount Everest. It's hard, but there is a path. If you want to do it the other way, you're probably going to fail.
Right.
If you follow the path, you might do it or not. But there is a path. You can learn that path or that process. You have now free material, podcast, YouTube videos. You can do it. In the MBA, of course, you will learn that. But in addition, you will have networking, entrepreneurial classes, behavioral economics, a lot of classes that will help you. And guest speakers that did that process and learn from it and might help you. And also when you finish the MBA, especially, if you want to start a business in Argentina, it's super hard. So I didn't want to do that. I wanted to do it here. And you need contacts, you need a network. And Casabe helped me with an accelerator program with contacts for fundraising from people from my batch. And now we are raising more money for a run rate for 2021, a run rate of a year and a half. And Casabe opens the door to us, to me and Falk, to find contacts here in VCs and angel investors here in Barcelona. So especially if you want to start a company abroad, you need to start having a network and a contact base, and the MBA is really helpful for that.
When I ask any of our students, we say, what's the biggest value you got out of your MBA, right? People say, yeah, the guest speakers are great. The case studies and whatnot are very helpful as well. But that network is really what kind of puts all the pieces together, and being able to be on that global network and kind of instill that whole value system, and be able to like you said, be able to reach out to other VCs, etc. Sounds important, right?
Yeah. And now that everything is open source, so now you can learn everything online. So it's super valuable, and that's the main advantage of the MBA is definitely the network that you might get, and all the contacts from your batch and other batches as well.
Great. Okay. I kind of want to work backwards now. Diego had taken his GMAT about 4 or 5 years ago, right? So quite a while ago. But what we want to ask, we always ask a lot of our students, was also something that I asked you, last year when we first started, to try to get some insight, is saying, if you could go back to young, bright-eyed 4 or 5 year ago Diego, what would be some advice that you would give that Diego when you were preparing for the GMAT?
Well, I will say to calm down and chill and enjoy the process. I play tennis, and I know how mentally tough it could be when you are in a tournament and you are prepared for it, but things are not working, and the GMAT is mentally tough, and it's a hard exam. But at the end, it's one step in a long process. So look at me now, 5 years after, I'm still in that process because I'm starting my company. Things are gonna, I'm working 14 hours a day. This is not a Cinderella story, I'm working a lot, and I'm still in that process of making my career. So it's one of the first steps of the process. Just enjoy it, be relaxed, and and you'll do fine at the end. And there is a lot of taboo and stigma around the score that you might have, that might define who you are and your career and maybe your whole life. That's not the case. That's not the case. So just chill and enjoy. It's a fun exam at the end, and probably it's a special exam that you will never have again in your life. So enjoy it.
Good. Enjoy. I like that, and we say the same thing to a lot of our students, right? I mean, there's a lot of, half of the GMAT is tips and tricks and quant and verbal, and then the other half is, like you said, just being able to kind of relax and there's so many things that can happen in your brain that can just, even if you know all the material and you're scoring 700s on your mocks and then you get a 600, why? Because you were freaking out, there's stress, there's anxiety. So I think that if you can kind of take it with a lighter heart, and obviously be prepared, that's and try to enjoy the ride, like you said, that's huge. So I appreciate that. Let's talk a little bit about the admissions. The admissions process. Some folks choose to walk through the process with others or with admissions consultants. Some have no idea. They know they want to get an MBA, but not really sure what or where. Help develop their story, need help on essays, etc. Why don't you tell me a little bit about your personal experience with the admissions process? Was it, how did you choose the school, and were there any types of challenges, or just kind of tell us a little bit about what that whole experience was? Because I know a lot of students they know what the GMAT is, but the whole admissions is a whole nother piece of the pie. So
I know admissions might be tough, and one of my best friends, he's in Duke now, and he applied to like 5, 6, 7 schools in the US, and I know how tough it is. My case was a little different. I was working for a US company in Argentina, but traveling a lot to the West Coast for 4 years. And one day I woke up, it was October 2017. I woke up and said, like, I have to leave Argentina, but I don't want to go to the US. I did my GMAT a year before. And I was, I said, like, where can I go? So I chose the city before choosing the school. So it's I did it in a different way. I said, okay, I want to go to Barcelona. I want to live in Barcelona. Now I need to find how to go there. And one of the possibilities was to study an MBA. I was almost 30, so it was the moment. And when I found Casabe, I think that my values were pretty aligned to the values that I mentioned before. And you see that in the admission process. You see that. So the admission process was super straightforward. For me, it was super easy to answer the questions, and I enjoy it a lot. I really enjoy it. So at the end, my advice could be, if you are really struggling and trying to shape your values or your answers in order to fit in the question that they're asking, maybe that's not the school for you, or you will not feel comfortable doing the MBA there. Just try to find a school that you think the values are aligned to your values, and the questions and the whole admission process will probably be easier.
Sure. And that's a great advice, right? Because we get that a lot where students say, look, I want to get an MBA, but I'm not sure where or how or what. And so, if you kind of choose, say that we always say is, look, it's not your purpose of getting the MBA isn't to get an MBA, right? Your purpose is, this is kind of that stepping stone to your career and lifestyle, dreams and hopes, right? So, it's a lot of times it's starting with that, right? How many hours do you want to work? How much money do you want to make? What kind of, where do you want to be? Do you want to be by the beach, right? Or not, right? So I think a lot of those things are super helpful, and it's interesting to hear your take on admissions. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. And at the end, I mean, I knew I wanted to live in Barcelona. I knew I wanted to stay here. So I don't know, if you want to live in Australia after doing the MBA, do it there. At the end, if try to think where you want to live, and use that when you're choosing your MBA, and choosing the school where you wanna do it.
Okay, Great.
Yeah.
Okay. Great advice. I guess the last question that I want to ask is, and you hit on this a bit about how important, one of the biggest values of the MBA is networking, right?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about how networking, you can either say whether it's in the MBA or really now that you're on this crucial, part of your blossoming business to say, hey, look, we're on our first little lift, right? And then now do we need to, as far as networking, do I need to have another round? We might need to buy 1,000 bikes. All right, where's that going to come from? Tell us a little bit about how networking has played into either your MBA journey or, more importantly, probably right now when you're in this crucial part of growing your business.
Well, sure. I mean, as I said before, everything is open source now. You can learn your whole MBA online, podcast, and at the end, the relevance of the networking, it's super, super important compared to other years when it was also the content that you were learning. For me and for Cleta, the networking was super important. We raised money at the beginning, a pre-seed round that some of the investors are study MBAs from my batch. As I mentioned before, also the accelerator program opened the doors, and I opened the doors to a lot of VCs, press releases, and all that was because I was an study alumni, and the doors that open to me and to the company I'm creating with my partner, with Falk. So at the end, networking is super, super important. And now we are also raising a seed round for the next year and a half. So we're also knocking the door to some VCs and people from the ecosystem of Casabe, for sure. So networking is super, super important. One of the main reasons of doing an MBA, especially also if you want to move and if you want to stay in the city where you're doing the MBA. Of course, the networking there it's stronger than in other part of the world.
It's key. Great,
yeah.
Great. It's good to hear.